Ladies and gentlemen, our next panel discussion is on the role of financial literacy in ASEAN's economic prosperity. We shall be leading with a scene-setting address by the chairman of the Brunei Darussalam Central Bank, Yang Mulia Datuk Sri Paduka Awang Haji Ahmadin bin Haji Abdul Rahman. But for this session, we'll be handing over to Dr. Elizabeth Oy, the Senior Lecturer of Finance, University of Western Australia in Perth, who's our moderator for our final session with speakers based in Jakarta and Tokyo, and also right here in Brunei. And Dr. Elizabeth's area of expertise is in financial literacy and personal finance. She's also worked in financial services, has been a consultant to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, authoring several OECD policy reports. Dr. Elizabeth, we can see you.
Thank you, Jenny. Good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to be your moderator for this important discussion on the role of financial literacy in ASEAN's economic prosperity. And if I can just briefly share my thoughts before we hear from the panel, what I think is most important about financial literacy is the fact that it is evolving so quickly. This morning we've heard about the importance of fintech, which means that we now need to incorporate digital financial literacy into our existing financial education programs. On top of that, we know that it is important to adopt financial education into the local context. So, for example, we'll talk about Islamic financial literacy today and the importance of that in ASEAN. And even just our understanding of how to measure financial literacy, what it's determined by, its potential influences on other things is also maturing. So in this panel, we'll talk about some of these issues, and the overall aim is to be able to contribute to policy development in Brunei Darussalam and the ASEAN region more broadly. So as Jenny said, we're going to begin with hearing from the chairman of the Brunei Darussalam Central Bank, Dr. Haji Ahmadin bin Haji Abdul Rahman, to set the scene for us. Dr. has been called to the same meeting as the Minister of Finance and Economy too, and so he has kindly recorded his scene setting for us. Could we have the scene setting, please?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Datuk Seri Setia Dr. Haji Muhammad Amin Liu bin Abdullah, Minister at the Prime Minister's Office and Minister of Finance and Economy 2, Haslina Taib, Chief Executive Officer Dynamic Technologies and Chair of the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit 2021, distinguished speakers, panelists, and participants. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning. It is a great pleasure to be here with you today, though virtually. First, I would like to appreciate the organizer for highlighting an important agenda not only impacting ASEAN, but also globally. Financial literacy continues to be prioritized as a digitalization and digital transformation in light of the COVID-19 pandemic has positively impacted fintech sectors such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, and data analytics in finance and cybersecurity. Governments around the world and here in ASEAN recognize that having a financially literate population that has access to appropriate financial products with relevant consumer protection benefiting households, businesses, and the overall economy. As such, financial literacy has become a pronounced topic of discussion and a fundamental policy theme both domestically and across the globe, thus promoting financial inclusion and improved access to finance. ASEAN also acknowledged the importance of financial literacy as an essential ingredient to improve its financial inclusion level. This has been envisioned as a pathway to enhance economic growth, to alleviate poverty, and to reduce income inequalities. Ladies and gentlemen, financial literacy, broadly defined, is a combination of awareness, knowledge, skill, and behavior that allows an individual to make informed and effective decisions, such as managing financial resources effectively, financial planning and investment, assessing the risk, and etc. Financial literacy also plays a crucial role in economic recovery in times of crisis. For instance, during the current COVID-19 pandemic, many have been forced to adapt to the new norms. This includes becoming more flexible with their finances. Those who are more flexible, those who are more financial literate will make better and prudent financial decisions and have the opportunities to navigate a path towards financial recoveries. This has not only further emphasized the importance of financial literacy as a life skill, but has also shed a new light on financial well-being and financial resilience. Data from the International Survey of the Adult Financial Literacy collected before the pandemic shows differences in people's financial resilience. For example, whether one has sufficient saving to cover life unexpected circumstances. The pandemic has affected consumers' financial situation from widespread economic downturn and reduced economic activity that led to unemployment and increased financial frauds and scams, which often targeting the vulnerable groups such as MSME, children and young people, seniors, and those digitally excluded. This opened the eyes of both individuals, businesses, and policymakers to enhance preparedness against adverse financial shock, and we all play a role to provide them with the tools to recovery. On the flip side, this pandemic has given us opportunity where businesses have started to move toward digital platforms such as e-wallet, e-remittance services, and peer-to-peer crowdfunding platform. It is also allows innovation and better understanding of customers and their needs and faster and wider dissemination of information. Combining this with an increasingly tech-savvy generation with wider access to the internet, such innovation can reach previously excluded groups, including the vulnerable, the unbanked, and underserved. This can lead to better accessibility to the financial sector and contribute to growth and development that is more inclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, our shared goal of financial integration for a stronger ASEAN Economic Community 2025 focuses on three main strategies. These are strengthening financial integration, promoting financial inclusion, and ensuring financial stability. Efforts have been undertaken by ASEAN collectively to support and accelerate financial inclusion initiatives in the region. At present, many of the ASEAN members have put in place their national strategies on financial education, which emphasizes the development and dissemination of financial education material and information, consumer engagement and outreach, as well as monitoring and evaluating its effectiveness. In addition, under the ASEAN Working Committee on Financial Inclusion, with the collaboration of several international organizations, has published a number of guidance notes on financial education and consumer protection, and on digital financial services, with policy notes on digital financial literacy will soon be published. To signify the importance of financial literacy, the members are committed in celebrating the ASEAN Saving Day every 31st of October commencing last year. The committee also emphasized on capacity building and peer learning. During the 7th ASEAN Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meeting, it was endorsed, among others, under Brunei Darussalam 3 priorities economic deliverables to convene ASEAN financial literacy conferences as a means of enhancing financial literacy and financial inclusion, which are key components in ensuring sustainable and resilient economic growth. Although ASEAN member states are at different stages of financial and economic development, I believe this is one of the ASEAN strengths. This blends well with this year's ASEAN theme of we care, we prepare, we prosper. With ASEAN diversity, we are able to learn more on the specific challenges faced by each country and understand what works well in their unique experiences. Together, we work closely in developing strategies to enhance ASEAN priority and support. In Brunei Darussalam, we view financial literacy as an important component to achieving our national vision of Wawasan Brunei 2035, recognizing the cross-cutting issues in raising financial literacy. A holistic multi-agency approach was necessary to achieve a broad-based outcome. In 2017, the National Financial Literacy Council was established, where members are from relevant government agencies and private sectors from various financial industries. By simply conducting financial literacy initiatives is not enough. Monitoring and evaluating of such initiative is also necessary. Therefore, the Council has implemented a framework to measure and analyze the success of financial literacy initiative, which allows the Council to better understand key success factors and provide improvement recommendation to bridge any gaps. The Council also recognizes that it is vital for financial education to start from early age. In April 2021, the Brunei Darussalam Financial Literacy Competency Framework for Primary Schools students was published, which contains a different financial theme while identifying a set of knowledge, skill, attitude, motivation, and behavior required at different age groups. Meanwhile, the Council is also working on launching a financial literacy website that houses all relevant financial information and advice adapted to Brunei context for a greater outreach to the public. Ladies and gentlemen, the Brunei Darussalam Central Bank, BDCB, also plays an important role in complementing financial literacy initiatives in the nation. Guided by the Brunei Darussalam Financial Sector Blueprint 2016 to 2025, the BDCB identifies opportunities in the effort toward developing the financial sector as the enabler of economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, despite the effort in promoting financial literacy in ASEAN, we should always be wary of possible challenges ahead. With finance and technology evolving fast, we must be just as quick, or if not faster, in adapting to these changes. We must also be aware of the new and emerging areas. For example, sustainable finance, as more of our ASEAN members states are focusing on building better post-COVID-19, which means a greener and more sustainable-oriented financial sector. Hence, we must never be complacent and continue to be agile in responding to any opportunities and risks that may arise. Further, we must bear in mind that although carrying out the financial literacy initiative program is necessary to raise financial literacy, it is still not sufficient. The financial environment must also be conducive in order to encourage positive financial behavior. For example, it is imperative that the financial service providers to be more proactive in ensuring that the financial product and services offered in the market cater to the needs of different groups, and no group, especially the vulnerable, is left behind. Finally, the role of the government and the private sector cannot be emphasized enough. Close and effective collaborative is necessary in order to ensure that the financial literacy reaches all target groups. The private sector must also be mindful that when conducting their financial literacy initiative, that the line between promoting financial literacy and marketing their own financial product and services has to be clear. Financial ignorance is costly and detrimental to individuals, households, and businesses impacting the economy. Those who are financially literate will be able to plan more effectively, take advantage of the financial services, and be more financially resilient in the face of crisis. The focus is to ensure that we equip our people, our businesses, and our ASEAN for success. I hope that today's panel discussion provides many insights of the development of the fintech and financial literacy and better equip ourselves for any future challenges. All the best, and thank you very much.
Thank you to Dato, and we will expand on some of his remarks with our panel. Before I introduce our panel, given that Brunei is chair of ASEAN this year, the discussions today will be fed back into the Brunei Central Bank to help develop their priority economic deliverable on financial literacy and policy planning. So I do look forward to our discussion. Let me at this point introduce each of our panelists, and in the interest of time I'm only going to briefly introduce their background, but please do refer to the website for a full profile on each of them. Our first panelist, Bapak Imansyah, has worked with the Indonesian Financial Service Authority, OJK, since 2013. And as of November 2020, he is the Deputy the Deputy Commissioner of OJK Institute and Digital Finance, responsible for capacity building for the financial sector, including research and digitalisation in the financial sector. Our second panellist, Peter J. Morgan, is Senior Consulting Economist and Vice Chair of Research at the Asian Development Bank Institute and has been with ADBI since 2008. He has 23 years experience in the financial sector in Asia, and his research interests include macroeconomic policy and financial sector regulation, reform, financial development, financial inclusion, fintech, financial literacy, and financial education. And our third panellist, young Mulia Haja Norani Haji Sulaiman, is currently the Deputy Managing Director 1 of BIBD. She was previously the Chief Financial Officer for BIBD and has held other accounting and financial roles in various Bruneian companies such as Brunei Shell Petroleum. She is also a member of the Brunei Darussalam Accounting Standards Council. Thank you, Bapak Imansyah, thank you, Peter and Norani as well for joining us in this panel. We will begin our session with hearing some opening remarks from each of our panel members, followed by some questions that I would like to ask the panelists, and finally some questions from the audience. And can I just take this opportunity to remind our audience members, if you do have a question that you'd like to post, if you could specify who the panelist is you would like to hear from to direct your question, that would be much appreciated. So, Bapak Imansyah, can I hand over to you first to hear your opening remarks?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Good morning to all, and thank you as well for it's a great honor for OJK to also to attend and participate in this event. So with regard to this the topic that we want to discuss this morning, I think before that I want to regard as well, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, moderators and participants, and panelists as well. I can see here Peter and also Ms. Nuraini Sulaiman. So it's a great honor for OJK again to attend and participate in this event. With the topic that we want to discuss this morning, it's talking about the financial literacy and financial inclusion, which is a big agenda as well for OJK actually. So since I joined my new assignment coming from the Board of Commissioners, I'm becoming more intensively engaged with the issue of the fintech as well as the digital financial inclusion in particular. So with regard to this agenda, with the initiative on digital finance innovation in particular for OJK, since January this year, we issue already we have a master plan for the financial sector here in Indonesia with duration 2001 to 2025. And one of the pillars, we have 3 pillars of this master plan, and one of the pillars is actually talking about the acceleration of digital transformations in the finance sector here in Indonesia. So it's very much very clear the directions coming from the commissioners that we have to do something that expedite ourselves. How, as a regulator for the financial sector, we do facilitate the adoptions of digital financial, in particular in the way of fintechs doing their business in our financial sector. So from the supply side, as a regulator, we come up with a policy directions already, and it was not only with the master plan, but in particular for the financial sector, we do also issue a guideline for upscaling the capacity of these financial sector resources in doing their business. So something that we do have directions, clear directions in the future, how we are tackling the issue of financial inclusions and financial literacy in particular in the area of digital, in the area of fintech in particular. So I have a lot of opportunity actually discussing about Indonesia, and in particular, I always come up with an idea where Indonesia is very unique, right? I think Pak Adrian mentioned in the first session that Indonesia also very special, and for me it's very unique because compared to other countries in the region, in the ASEAN region, we do have 70,000 islands and most 250 million people. So it's a huge market for us actually in terms of how we are tackling the issue of fintechs in our financial sector. So, and also the financial literacy and also the financial inclusion because of this structure, the geographical structure of Indonesia. So I think we do have like we want to be very concerned with this financial literacy and financial inclusion. And from the beginning, I think I have the figure of the survey of digital of these financial literacy and financial inclusions done nationally. So we have the number of 2019. The financial literacy index is about 38%, and the financial inclusion index is above that figure, is almost 80%. But the number is keep increasing every year. So from like 2013, we only have like 22% of financial literacy and only like almost 68% of financial inclusions. But at the end of 2019, we have like I said before, the number is quite the increasing of the number is quite significant. So we do have in the future we can like have what is it, the number of the figure of this financial literacy as well as financial inclusion becoming even bigger. So it is something that is very common for the financial sector. So when we go into the digital financial literature and inclusions in Indonesia, so in terms of financial literacy index, we have like 36%, and the financial literature, I think we have like 31 or 32% as of 2019. So it's still, you can compare that in the area of digital finance, we still have a lot of work to do in the future, and for sure it's a huge challenge, it's a huge task for us to ensure that the public really understood about how they can benefit from the digital finance services, because as in the morning, I think I can follow the discussions. We do have like two big area. One is the P2P lending, and one on the payment, that really covering a lot of the features of our digital finance here in Indonesia. So that's really one of the idea that we do have like a lot of homeworks in the future for how we are increasing our digital finance literacy and also inclusions. But for sure that the government always come up with like a very good initiative, and we follow the direction from the government. Just recently, government initiated for the project management office for digital economy, and one part of the digital economy is also for the digital financial literacy and also digital financial inclusions. Aside from what we have from the survey, we have also set up already what under our regulations, what we call is OJK Infinity. OJK Infinity is something that it's like a sandbox. It's something that we have like a venue that everybody can discuss about the business model of the digital financial innovations. So within that OJK Infinity, we set up also, we develop a digital financial curriculum already. So we have a lot of communications with the Minister of Education, and also we develop as well a fintech center with universities. This is the effort that we want to have like more broad understandings of not only the regulators but also the universities and government officials, government entities that talking about the fintech within our financial sector. So within the OJK Infinity, we also have like I mentioned before, like we have a sandbox that everybody can submit and can report to us, and we discuss about the business model, how they set up the risk management, how they set up the data protections, who are the management and where they are located. All those things will be very much we discuss within our OJK Infinity, and including as well capacity building. For ourselves in particular, because it's like a new frontier that we want to know more about the business model and what happened in the real sector. So I think to some extent, our staff also learn from the fintech players how they can understand well about the business model of this fintech player. On the other side, we have also like digital financial literacy media. So we have a lot of collaborations and cooperation with IMF, with the World Banks, as well as with the Asian Development Bank to set up like a program, namely digital financial literacy program. So we have like a what is it? Ebook, something that we can share through our website, and everybody can access and then learn about the fintechs. And the other things that I want to share here as well. I mentioned I'm attached to the OJK Institute, so we also develop as well like a curriculum for digital talent. So I think when we're talking about fintechs and how we can go further with the digital financial literacy and digital financial inclusions, so the one that we want to have also how we are preparing for more digital talents provided in the industry. So by doing this, I think it will benefit for Indonesia in particular for having more digital talents available in the market. So meaning that the way to support the digital financial literacy as well as the digital financial inclusions not only relies with the regulators, but also we can ask more participation coming from the market players. So I think that's what I can share in the beginning for as introduction, and also as something that we can share later on and we can discuss during the Q&A session. So I stop here. Back to you, Elizabeth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bapak Imansyah. Peter, can I hand over to you for your opening remarks, please?
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm delighted to participate in this very important event, and I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me. We at ADBI have been very interested in the areas of financial inclusion and financial literacy, and more recently, fintech and digital financial literacy as ways to promote informed financial inclusion. Mr. Mansa's remarks have sort of very nicely led into my intervention. I wanted to talk a little bit more in detail about digital financial literacy, which we've been promoting. I think digital financial literacy covers knowledge in four main areas. Our first would be the knowledge of fintech products and services, their benefits and drawbacks. And within the fintech area, of course, it's quite broad. You have payments such as e-money, mobile phone wallets, crypto assets, remittance services, asset management such as internet banking, online brokers, robo-advisors, crypto asset trading, personal financial management, mobile trading. And then there's the area of alternative finance such as crowdfunding, peer-to-peer lending, online balance sheet lending, etc., and other services such as internet-based insurance or insurtech. So that's the first aspect. Then the second aspect is what are the new kinds of risks which are associated with fintech's products and services, risks such as phishing, identity theft, unauthorized use of personal data, and also excessive debt can be a problem. One of the side effects of fintech lending services may be that it's actually too easy to build up debt. The third issue is ways to protect oneself from these risks. And finally, the fourth aspect is methods of redress if consumers experience losses or other damages from such risks. Now, digital financial literacy can be promoted in in various ways. I think the very first step would be to develop and implement tools to measure digital financial literacy. So far, as I'm aware, there have been a number of different kinds of surveys to measure conventional financial literacy, but I'm not aware of any surveys which have actually measured the extent of digital financial literacy. The next step would be to develop a digital financial education strategies and programs to establish guidelines for the inclusion of fintech and big tech companies in national financial education strategies. And our particular suggestion is that we would recommend that fintech and big tech firms be required to provide a certain level of digital financial education to their customers, especially disadvantaged groups. Certainly, fintech and big tech companies, I think, are extremely well placed to develop these kinds of educational materials. The next point I would emphasize is that when you're looking at disadvantaged groups, it's unlikely that online digital financial education would be sufficient. You probably need some kind of a coordination of online and offline models to be included in the national financial education strategy, some direct involvement, for example, of NGOs in education programs for disadvantaged groups. The next stage is to develop frameworks to monitor the efficiency of digital financial education strategies. And then along with that, I think it's necessary to extend consumer protection schemes to cover fintech products and services. So let me stop there. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Peter. And Noraini, can I please hand over to you for your opening remarks, please?
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'll be talking a bit about financial literacy in the Islamic space. So let me start by just saying about Maqasid Sharia, or the goals of Islamic law, which is aimed to preserve the well-being of the individual and society with its established or known objectives for the preservation and promotion of religion, life, lineage, intellect, and also wealth. So the ethical values of Maqasid Sharia are also very much aligned to what we know today as ESG and the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. So whilst we were looking at the UN SDG, the similarities which has been struck by both Maqasid Sharia and also UN SDG was really enlightening to us. So within the financial sector, emphasis has grown from purely enhancing shareholder value, which is traditional measures of financial performance, towards enhancing stakeholder value. Now it's looking to also include meaningful and also responsible values to society. Certain academics have also opined the objectives of Sharia in financial transaction to broadly include the circulation of wealth, encompassing creation, consumption, and also its redistribution, fair and transparent financial process, and justice to the individual and society. So these interconnectivities, which nicely go into the second and also fifth pillars of the Maqasid Sharia. So the one on life, for example, is basically looking at the basic ones, for example, for security, and also providing to the environment, basically, for example, land, sea, and water. So again, there is also a lot of similarities from the Maqasid Sharia view and also to the UN SDG. The fifth pillar, which is also, sorry, I've lost my notes there. It's gone on to sleep to me. Sorry. The objective of the preservation of wealth within Maqasid Sharia also is meant to avoid poverty, gainful halal income, and also respectable standard of living. It also is to ensure the maintenance of a respectable Muslim lifestyle, promoting halal income, and also the redistribution of wealth via zakat to its rightful recipients. So the objective of Sharia and the financial transaction enables cohesive alignment, inclusive socio-economic growth with the principles of fairness, transparency, and public interest, which also will also take into consideration not just financial gain. So from an Islamic standpoint, financial literacy is critical, needed to fulfill one religious obligation. Within the Quran, Surah An-Nisa, Ayat 5, there is emphasis on ensuring that one has adequate understanding of the use of resources, making sound judgment, and not to consume wastefully. So the direct translation would be, do not hand over to those who are weak of judgment the property of which Allah has entrusted you for their support, but let them have their sustenance and clothe them with its proceed. So from Islamic perspective, financial literacy should have the following benefits, which is the increased knowledge within Islamic finance, leading into economic stability with the prohibition of usury and maisir or speculation, financial awareness for financial products linked with the real economy, as Islamic funds are used to grow real economic activities, and also encourages the use of financial products, but also one needs to be aware of the risks related to them. On a Brunei level, so financial literacy has actually been addressed at the highest level. So His Majesty himself has taken a great interest in this. In his New Year Tita some years ago, he has highlighted the responsible spending by the government, household, and also individuals. And as mentioned by Dato' just now, even the central bank in its financial sector blueprint has also included raising financial literacy standards and raising public awareness, and also instilling financial discipline. The first financial literacy survey was commissioned by the central bank in 2015, and that has resulted to 4 pillars. I think this is very much similar to other countries, which is an increase in financial education. But of course, now I think not just the traditional education, but one also needs to understand the digital financial education, which is very much prevalent. Information, financial information and advice. So again, the central bank has played quite a bit of a role, where they have been promoting National Savings Day since 2015, and I believe that has also been positive with increased savings that we see from a financial sector. So the third finding was on institutional design. I think there was also certain regulatory steps which had to be taken by the regulator. For example, introducing the total debt service ratio in 2015 to instill financial discipline. And we have also seen, I think that has worked. I think in 2011, the total household debt to the total loans in Brunei was around nearly 60%, and that has gone down to around 48% around the first quarter of this year. And the regulators have also taken that active role to ensure that there is enough information for the consumers to take their decision. For example, with the introduction of the notice of market conduct for greater transparency to consumers. Of course, the governance and also evaluation, I think Dato' also mentioned about the establishment of the National Financial Literacy Council for Brunei. And I think they are currently preparing to actually do a third financial literacy survey, of course, to measure what has been working over the last two financial literacy surveys. Interestingly, there has been a rise in Brunei, where Brunei-based individuals using digital means such as social media accounts to promote personal finance and investments or financial literacy. These accounts, alhamdulillah, I think they were also managed by certified financial planners. But this is interesting to me because this is the increasing interest, which is to share from a public point of view to increase financial literacy amongst the general population of Brunei. Elizabeth, that's it. I give it back to you.
Thank you, Noorani. I do have some follow-up questions for each of our panel members, but I suppose we'll keep this segment quite brief so that we still do have some time for audience member questions. If I can come back to Bapak Imansyah, you mentioned the OJK Infinity program as a way to support digital financial literacy and also digital financial inclusion, and obviously they are key priorities for many countries around the world, particularly in ASEAN. Can you tell us more about the priorities of OJK going forward, other than digital aspects of financial education and literacy?
Yeah, thank you for the questions, Elizabeth. I forgot to share as well that our mandate, according to OJK law, is not only doing the oversee for the financial sector, but also we have like one mandate for the customer protections, right? It's something that when you try to undertake that our mandate for the financial for the customer protections, one instance that I want to share with you is we do have a lot of complaints coming from the people that about the protections for them because of this what we call this illegal fintech P2P lending. So because of the quite low the understandings about the this business process and something that then they just have like an offer coming from this illegal fintechs lending, online lending, right? So they just click their mobile phone, and what happened is this fintech, this illegal fintech lending, according to ourselves, define that because they are not registered and they're not licensed by OJK. So what happened is the customer just click the features that offered by this illegal fintech lending. So what happened is they can access not only the contact number of the customer itself, but also all the contact number within that mobile phones, right? So and they contact also they can what happened is there is like a delay in payment, repayment for this facility taken by the customer. They just this share the information through all the contact number within that mobile phones of that so it's undue actually activity done by this period. So in the future, I think one of the homeworks that we consider is again in terms of financial literacy. So we have to do something like more educations to increase the understandings of people how they interact with this illegal fintech lending. So and what features, and if they are offering that they have to click all the features that are according to our standard, so they have to refuse and reject that offer coming from the illegal fintech lending. But it's a huge, it's a big challenge for us because we can cover like cities, but with rural areas, it's a big challenge for us as well because sometimes this player, this fintech, illegal fintech lending also try to offer the services into rural areas. And we have, I mentioned in the beginning that we have this 70,000 island. I don't know how, covering all the areas, but anyway, that's a big challenge, and we're going forward. And we have like a special task force. It's a collaboration with the government, other government institutions like with the governor of central bank, because it's also talking about payment services. So and it's something that, and also the Minister of Information and Technology. So meaning that if there's like illegal fintech lending that being registered by them, if there's not registered by the OJK, they have to tackle down that fintech lending from the market, from the e-commerce and the market players. So that's really the big challenge for us in the future. But I mean this is a ongoing effort. It won't stop until you have this, let's say, your financial literacy index already reached about 100% or 90 something percent, but it's an ongoing effort just to make sure that your people are protected from the illegal undue activities from the fintechs players in the market. Thank you. I stop there and back to you, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Thank you, Bapak Imansyah. I do see some questions coming through from our audience, but if you could please continue to post the questions, we will have time for audience participation. Peter, in your opening remarks, you mentioned there is a need for work on how to measure digital financial literacy as we evolve away from traditional financial literacy. So that certainly could present a particular challenge in incorporating digital financial literacy into our current financial education programs. Do you foresee any other challenges in incorporating digital financial issues?
I think the main issues involved in incorporating digital financial literacy are probably not too different from those involved with more conventional financial literacy. I think the gold standard for financial education is incorporation into the school curriculum, because that means you can reach the entire youth population and set the stage for future financial education development. But the basic problem is that you need a good program. The teachers need to be well educated. You have to find sufficient time to incorporate that into the curriculum. Even places like Japan, which have a well-developed financial education curriculum, there's still a basic issue of trying to find time in the overall curriculum, because of course there are so many different subjects that have to be covered. So those are very basic kinds of problems. So I don't think there's anything particularly unique about digital financial literacy, although of course it does overlap a lot with digital literacy, so that essentially you have to have all three. You have to have financial literacy, digital literacy, and digital financial literacy.
Thank you, Peter. And Noraini, you mentioned some key distinctions between Islamic financial literacy and how that is set apart from traditional financial literacy. And of course, it is important to do our best to raise awareness of Islamic financial literacy. What do you think is the best way that we can raise that awareness? Is it a matter of policy, incorporating it into policy, social media, tailored financial education programs? What do you think, from your perspective, is the best way to do that?
Thanks, Elizabeth. I think there's a multitude of ways to actually do it. And I think the most efficient and also wide-ranging would, of course, be from a fintech point of view and also digitally. So as I mentioned earlier on, of course, this is also depending on the fact that there is infrastructure to support the fintechs and also digital financial literacy. We can see even one of our subsidiaries are doing financial education via their social media, for example, via Instagram, so that there will be a lot more people who can read into it. Of course, the traditional ways are still applicable. I think Bapak Imansyah mentioned about the number of islands in Indonesia. I think, of course, COVID permitting, hopefully the congregation in mosques or suraus can also be done to disseminate information from licensed practitioners. Of course, having the endorsement of the imams within those suraus or mosques, I think would give that faith in the people that it's authentic and can be adopted by people, albeit at the rudimentary level.
Thank you, Noraini. I'd like to open our session now to questions from the audience. The first question that we have is for Peter on digital financial technology. The question is, how should we cater to older members of society when it comes to this issue? How do we promote it to them? How do we even find the best approach to target them?
Yes, I think that's a difficult question because they are probably less likely to be used to using online sources of information, and of course they aren't in school anymore. I think that may well call for the involvement of perhaps NGOs to actively go out into the community to try to reach these people, either NGOs or local governments might have some kind of program to reach elderly users. Now, if they do have online access, then I think that makes it much easier. Then you just have to try to tailor a program for them and somehow get them to pay attention to that program. But in any case, I think it's going to be a challenge. And again, it probably ties in a lot with the digital literacy, that you have to improve the capacity of the elderly to on the side of digital literacy before they can take advantage of digital financial literacy or financial literacy.
Thank you, Peter. And I guess another target group other than our older members is also our youth. So the next question is for Bapak Imansyah. The question is, how can financial institutions support millennials in increasing their financial literacy? So what are the specific means to target youths?
Again, thank you for the question, Elizabeth. I think the way that we have like communications with the financial institution is already like embedded before, I think for years already, because we did. And then these incumbent financial institutions, they're having also this digital financial services through fintech or something, and then they are targeting also millennials. So the issue back to the very fundamental issues, how we are doing the financial literacy and financial inclusions for even for millennials. So I think from our perspective, the communications is key, right? So we have like not only with the incumbent, but the individual financial institution. We don't just do that things with these individual financial institutions, but we do as well like a collaboration with the associations. So we leverage on associations because I think these incumbent financial institutions also member of the association. So the way they're having the program for financial literacy for the customer will do as well as a concern coming from the associations. And not only with the incumbent financial institution, but also with the fintech itself. We have a lot of association. I think in the first sessions, one of the head of this financial fintech association is also sharing its idea on how we are having this fintech works in our financial sector. So they're having also code of conduct. They're having also like what is it penalties for the members of the association. So we have a regular meetings, we have a regular communication with the fintech associations. On top of that, we also have like already established in our works years already our communication with the incumbent. So hopefully that's something that will help us to increase the digital financial literacy, in particular for the millennials. But so it is also our target in the future that we may have like a I think we do a lot of webinar through our effort, our programs, and we invite not only financial sector staff, but also it's open for public. So hopefully by doing this webinar, I think this is a benefit of having also the IT right now. We have this opportunity to more have like more audience can participate in our program. So hopefully all those things will be all together can increase as well how good is the level of the financial literacy coming from the millennials. So I'll stop here. Get back to you, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Thank you, Bapak Imansyah. Our last question from the audience before we wrap up is directed to Naraini. The question is, individual and social responsibility are rightly key pillars of financial literacy. Could you please share your view on bringing greater harmony between Sharia finance laws and regulations with the broader financial regulatory environment for the good of ASEAN economic integration and common markets?
Thank you very much. So putting the hat of a regulator. Okay, so I think there will always be, well, for Brunei, it's quite easy because of the importance, and also it's actually built into the central bank. A lot of the actions which are taken have also been looking at from the Islamic angle, really. And I think recently when we look at the Code of Market Conduct, for example, which was introduced by the central bank. I mean, if you relate it back on Islamically, so this actually promotes transparency as well. So there's already alignment that we can see here. So a lot of the what has been introduced by the regulators, the central bank, at least for Brunei, it has actually encompassed within the financial space as well, because as I said, Maqasid Sharia looks at the protection of wealth and also the protection of life. So generally speaking, it will be encompassed in all those two. But of course, we can take it further into cultural specific into each of the country. But there are a lot of similarities, especially if we take Islam as the religion. So that can actually be applied across the different jurisdictions within ASEAN.
Thank you, Narayani. Well, that brings our panel to an end. Thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you to our event organisers as well, and of course our audience members for participating. I found the discussion incredibly useful. I've been switching between my moderator hat and my researcher hat to try and help me figure out ideas for my research agenda. And I'm sure this is going to be useful for policy considerations being deliberated this year as well. So thank you, everyone, and I'll hand over back to Jenny now.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Ibu Nuraini. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.